Welcome to Practical Emotional Intelligence Insight. So today we're going to talk about uncertainty and the presence of mind. My question for you, Ambika and Sachin, is why should we embrace uncertainty? Shouldn't we prepare and plan? What's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong about planning or preparing or any of that effort. And that effort has to be done. For that matter, one to live without planning would be very difficult. But at the same time, when the planning becomes an overwhelming thing in which you cannot uh, operate without planning and something very uncertain hits you, then where do you go and what do you do is the question. Like in this moment, a lot of businesses, I'm quite sure, at the end of the year last year, or at the end start of the quarter, we had some planning, or even in the house, or even for personal, and then suddenly all of it has gone for a toss with this pandemic, and uncertainty is hitting on our face now every moment. So how do we look at planning and preparing now? What is our definition and where we stand is the real question to ask, and that's
why should we embrace uncertainty? That's the question. I believe that we don't have any other choice. We we have to embrace uncertainty. Now the problem happens is that when we feel or when we believe that we have choice and we struggle with it and we resist any change or anything that feels uncertain, the quicker we get comfortable with the fact that life is full of uncertainty, the resistance and the struggle drops, the worries drop with it. So, because we are not embracing and acknowledging this important part of life that it is full of uncertainties, we try to control things that are not even under our influence. We get stressed, we become anxious, and then we start reacting or responding from that state of anxiety and stress. That is the reason why we say that we first need to embrace uncertainty, because once we embrace it, once we welcome it and we are okay with it, then the worry part drops, the resistance drops. Still we need to plan, still we need to prepare, but the frame of mind that we would be in would be a lot calmer and a lot accepting as compared to coming from the state of resistance.
It's like you go for a holiday, yeah, and you have some itinerary planned for that day in that destination, and something very uncertain happens. For example, I remember we were on a family holiday in Dubai, and there was a bus which was supposed to pick us up to go to Abu Dhabi, and that got late. And that whole day was lost. We had a return ticket planned, we couldn't go. And my parents just decided, they were like, okay, we haven't explored this hotel we are in, let's go there. And then actually we had quite a fun day that too. And after a point, I actually felt after 3 days of going constantly somewhere, it was just nice because after almost 2 years, all my family members were under one roof for the first time. And I felt that that uncertain part of the trip was actually very beautiful. And trust me, that's what we remember today most. Probably we would have seen something great in Abu Dhabi and something amazing would have happened. But for that matter, a lot of beauty comes also in this space of uncertainty when a lot of scope is allowed. Initial 1 hour, we were all like, this is not fair, we've paid for it, this is not okay, that is not okay, and all that happened. But later I felt I really valued that part with my family and that moments we spent together. So, yeah.
Also, I want to add to this that the core message of this topic here, what we are trying to say is that uncertainty and planning are not two different things, are not mutually exclusive things.
Yeah.
It's not that by planning you can convert uncertainty into certainty. Even after a lot of planning, lot of thinking, there will still be things that will be uncertain. There will still be um, incidents that will happen that you have not thought of. So planning is not a cure for uncertainty. Both can exist, and that is the core message here, to be okay with uncertainty and yet plan. So have both coexist. Don't see planning and preparation as a medicine or as a cure for uncertainty, because it's not.
And it doesn't work either. Like we would like to as much plan for everything that's going to happen, but a lot of times it doesn't work the way we would want it to, and then there is a lot of worry, frustration, fear also. The next time we plan, we are always in the fear of, oh, what if this doesn't come true, or what happened was not correct or wrong or something like that. So that fear and that anxiety both can come in check if we are okay with some scope of uncertainty to the whole thing in the first place. So plan with the scope of uncertainty, and I think that would be a sign of an emotionally intelligent person.
Yes, plan with the knowledge that there will still be uncertainty in that plan also. When you
Yes.
execute that plan, still you might face uncertainty. You may not have covered everything, and it's not humanly possible to cover each and every scenario. You can hope that you have covered everything important, which is good, but never hope that by planning you can get rid of uncertainty. I think that would be a unachievable goal.
Recently, I was on LinkedIn and I saw someone's post from a very senior official in HubSpot. I don't remember her name. It was a woman. It's still trending if you go. And she wrote that in this period of lockdown, she has seen so many of her colleagues in their family setups, and she's met kids and she has seen their living rooms, and she feels so much more connected now because in all these years they really never got to interact that much. And she said that we don't need to sorry if a kid or a pet or a family member pops in a video recording or in a meeting or on Zoom, because that's very part of our life. And I feel that's very high level of emotional intelligence and inclusiveness a very senior official is showing to their employees.
Choosing the battles to fight is the thing, like trying to control each and everything and resisting and struggling creates more problem.
Definitely.
So I have a question for you, Ambika and Sachin.
Mhm.
So how would you suggest people to face uncertainty? Are they tools? Are they day-to-day practices people could start using to face uncertainty?
Yes, very good question.
That's a very good question.
I was actually I was thinking that you would ask that question. So yes, so as we said that planning and preparation is important, but don't see it as a cure or as a medicine for uncertainty, because it's not. It's important, it's required. So now the question is, then what is it? Then what do we do to deal with things that will just pop up? How to deal with uncertainty? To the best of my knowledge and my experience, or our experience, what we practice as well, what we can suggest is using presence of mind. Allow your presence of mind to sharpen and shine. When we emphasize too much on preparation, we kill presence of mind. We try to anticipate everything in advance, and when something comes out of what we have not anticipated, we don't know what to do with it. So prepare, but don't over prepare. Don't think that we have covered everything, and then when you get caught, you have no idea what to do, how to deal with it. So practice presence of mind, and that works for us.
Like, this is like a latent capacity in each human being. This is like a crisis capacity that each one of us has. And it could be latent. I'm saying latent because a lot of time is just gone into doing prepared for things, and very less time is usually given to anything that unfolds and uncertain. But at the same time, this capacity exists. For example, in this moment where you're sitting and watching this, there is fire. This first thing that you would do is probably jump from wherever, safe place, or you go to a safe place, or do whatever. That capacity is still there. Probably you would not take that risk later, like right now, if that is not what you prepared for. But if it's uncertain, you will have that capacity that will come up just like that. So this capacity is always there. It's just that we are now consciously using that capacity to our advantage and letting that presence of mind shine when it's required in awareness. At this moment, what happens? Subconsciously, we know all this. So when it's complete crisis and I'm dying and I'm pressed and pinned against the wall, I use it. Now, what if I say that you could actually use it in your day-to-day life and see every moment is uncertain, and let me see what comes up, and let your prepared mind take a back seat and your presence take a front seat, and see what comes out. You'll be surprised with the capacity you have.
Could you maybe could you maybe elaborate a little bit more about what do you mean when you talk about presence of mind?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good question. And once again, I was thinking you would ask that. So this is again another thing, that although we are recording this conversation, this insight, yet we are using our presence of mind for even the questions that are coming up. We haven't even prepared the questions also. Mm-hmm. So even the questions are right now flowing in the moment, what feels right? So what we are talking right now is actually what we are practicing also. Mm-hmm. And when you allow that presence of mind, the right question comes, the right thing just flows, because this is the next natural thing for me to ask, and this is what I need. So to answer your question, I think the best answer I can give you is we conduct practical emotional intelligence conversations, and I think that we would like to take up this topic as part of the conversations, and we would like to invite people to come on that call, and let's explore different ways of how we can develop our presence of mind. It would be a real good topic of open discussion with everyone. So I think right now, I feel that it's a good point to invite the listener right now to join us in the conversation, and let's talk about presence of mind over there.
Yes. So we hope to see you soon on the Practical Emotional Intelligence Conversations page and group and the call. Thank you.
Thank you, Sachin and Ambika.
Thank you, Daphne.
So, as we have discussed with Ambika and Sachin, uncertainty is that thing that comes into our life and shakes completely our plans, and shakes us and brings fear and anxiety. So we have spoken and we have talked about the presence of mind. So the presence of mind is very important because actually it opens up the possibilities of choice on how you can react to that uncertainty. So yes, let's open up those choices by being more present into our life and welcome and embrace uncertainty. I also had another question actually. No, like I wanted to intervene at some point, but I didn't want to disturb, so I was like, okay, and then it shifted to another thing, but it was like more about, I'm gonna tell it like this and then we see if we film. It's still filming anyway. It was more like, actually, it seems that we don't have the choice. When there is uncertainty coming, it seems that we are like, it just falls into our life or whatever. But actually we have the choice to how to react to it.
Yes.
And
This
yeah.
is the only
The gap
choice
is
that we
awareness.
have. Yeah. So most people, their choice is preparation, plan, prepare. So overthink what might happen, what's the next step that God is going to take, and let me prepare for that.
And also I think that when you are in the present moment, the possibilities of the choice you make are more abundant.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're more like aware and more open to possibilities. So, yeah.
Also, one of my teachers, Shaurya, he says that gap between a stimulus or a trigger and me responding or reacting or the choice that you're talking about is freedom. That gap is freedom. You are free if you are able to pause, because that gives you freedom of the choice, and actually the ultimate freedom from the psychological mind, the worry, the fears, and everything that you talk about. It's actually the key for all your psychological problems, and that can happen, that have happened, and that are in this moment.